Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Content Delivery Summit 2020. My name is Dom Robinson from software company Ideas. I'm also chair, programmer and producer of today's event. So welcome to you all. Thank you for joining. You've been flooding into the meeting at a rate of knots. We're just about catching up with ourselves. So since you're going to hear quite a lot from me today, let me quickly introduce myself. I've been playing with image transfer over IP networks since 1990, when I was making time lapses of fast orbiting binary stars from observatories all over the world using pre-web IP network called Starlink. After a few wayward years doing drum and bass events, I put together a very early live link up in the UK in October 96 and became passionate about streaming. After some interesting adventures, I launched my own CDN, which ultimately leads to me being here today, called Global Mix, and we were all very focused on IP multicast, which I'm sure will be of interest to some of you out there. Since 2009, I moved on to focus on providing software for publishers producing high volumes of critical live webcasts for financial news and sports clients. And today, Ideas has a market-leading microservices software that we deploy into our client infrastructures when commodity off-the-shelf software limits what publishers and operators are attempting to achieve. I've also, for my sins, written a book on CDNs, so do reach out and let me know if you'd like a copy. I have a few discount vouchers left. You can find my email in my tag on my thumbnail window. And for the last 10 years, I've been chairing a content delivery network focused conference over here in the UK. And last year I co-chaired CDS, but this year, crazily enough, Eric and the IT people have allowed me to not only chair it on my own, but to program it as well. So the content idea today is down to me. So Eric, are you out there? Let me just see if I can bring you into the discussion.
Hey, Dom, how are you this morning?
Very well. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Busy getting ready for Streaming Media East Connect, which is our online version of Streaming Media East, and that's going to be happening the rest of the week.
Perfect. How's it been going?
It's going great. We've got a bunch of great speakers from Facebook, Netflix, Vimeo, HBO, and on down the line, talking about everything from the AV1 codec to latency to OTT workflow to how COVID-19 has affected our industry. So it's really going to be a wide-ranging set of discussions. You can find out more at streamingmedia.com/east.
Perfect. Well, we're going to keep mentions of COVID reasonably minimal today because I'm sure everyone's talked to death about it. But the last few months have been an interesting ride, not only globally, but for the industry. I think our industry has been a central glue for the whole community on the planet who are dealing with COVID. And there was no doubt in my mind that today's event was more critical than it ever has been. So rearranging from our real world event in Boston to this virtual event was in my mind an imperative. I'd also, before we get lost in the content today, like to thank all the speakers and panelists for making it today. The insights that the industry thought leaders are going to be sharing through the day will doubtlessly help all of those in the audience who are looking for optimization across their content delivery strategy. And indeed, some ways this virtualization has made it possible to engage a far wider audience than usual. So welcome to all of you tuned in as well. In more than a decade chairing conferences focused on the CDN space, this audience today is some 3 to 5 times larger than any we've had for a real world event. So I guess this streaming thing might just work. Helping me today, given that there's rather a lot going on, I've also got 2 moderators who you'll be seeing regularly through the day. I've got Tim Siglin and Mark De Jong. Let me just check that I can bring them on screen and that their mics are working. Mark, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
Brilliant.
Good
How
to see you, Dom. Good, very good.
All set for today?
Yes, set for a long time, I guess. It's going to be like midnight before we end.
Yeah, it's going to be late for us too, and I think for some of the audience out there, it is already in the middle of the night for them. So when we talk about a lunch break, it doesn't necessarily mean lunch, but
no,
that'll be dinner. And Tim, can I just check that your mic's working and you're out there as well?
I think it's working, Dom. Can you see me?
Yes, perfect. And I like your real virtual background. That's fantastic.
Yeah, finally got it back up like we've had for SMAF before. So
Excellent, brilliant. So they'll be both moderating panels, and they're helping me as Zoom co-hosts. So if you do have any technical issues, do reach out to them in the chat room. Chat room's buzzing away in the background here, so use that for networking through the day and so on and so forth. I'll be sharing some more technical information in a second or two. Of course, alongside Eric in the background, we've got Steve Nathans-Kelly, who is full-time looking after the production, or helping us look after the production. Steve, can you just give us a quick wave on camera if you're there? You'll have to unmute yourself. Let me just spotlight you so we know where you are. There he is. There's Steve. Give us a wave. So if you get stuck, find any of the five of us in the chat room, and particularly speakers as you come online. If you could let either your panel moderator or Eric and Steve know that you're here, that will help us find you and co-host you and promote you to the presentations in time to talk. So. Right, with no further ado, I need to get into some of the technical information. Could you all, as delegates, leave your cameras off today? We will ask you to turn your cameras on and use the raise hand button if you want to ask a question when we come to Q&A sessions. That leaving your cameras off will limit the bandwidth for those of us that are bandwidth constricted, but more importantly, it'll let us find speakers quickly and bring them up to the stage. So for my sins, I'm producing the whole thing as well as chairing and programming today. So there's rather a lot of buttons I've got to concentrate on. And if I look away from the camera while I'm talking to you, please don't take offense. Right at the end of the day, we will experimentally try to lift the microphones for the whole community and encourage some networking. But for those of us that work in the video industry, I'm sure we've been witnessing family and friends trying to host Zoom conferences and quiz nights and so on. And as we know, those who don't know how to use a mute button can be somewhat create something of a cacophony. So we'll see how that goes right at the end of the afternoon. But at the moment, please use the chat room for your networking purposes. Right, I'm just going to quickly summarize the agenda for the day before we go over to introduce our keynote speaker. Today's going to be a little bit more holistic than Content Delivery Summit has traditionally been. The morning time, Eastern time, is entirely focused on CDN underpinnings. It's an area that I think we've touched on regularly, but we haven't really focused on in depth. And this year we're going to change that. So we're going to be looking at the physical fabric and the supply chains that comprise a modern content delivery network. Before the coffee break, we'll be looking at the core network, power and interconnectivity. And after the morning coffee break, obviously time dependent for you all locally, we'll be having a word from our gold sponsor, Seaborn, and then we'll be looking at application hosting and consumer access evolution. We'll then have a 20-minute break, nominally our lunch break. There'll then be a 15-minute fireside chat with our platinum sponsor, Fastly, and a further 15-minute break, which we'll call lunch, even if it'll be my dinner, and I'm going to nip to the fridge and grab my sandwich. And then after lunch, we'll be looking at applied content delivery with a dive into video packaging, managing large, complex content infrastructure, and delivering video content at scale. Then there'll be a brief word from our gold sponsor, Limelight, and a further 20-minute break before we settle in for the second part of the applied content delivery sessions, looking at complexity, scaling and orchestration of services and quality of service management. Then to end the day, we'll explore the converging worlds of edge compute and CDN as we look forward into the evolution of fog architecture. And just finally, a personal note. And this is really drawing the chairman's prerogative card. I want to draw attention to an article that Tim Siglin and I wrote, and it was published in Streaming Media this week, about the greening of streaming. In 25 years in this sector, I've simply never heard power pushed to the forefront of our design principles. And now that we're demanding some 6 to 10% of the world's electricity supply, it's clear to me that the niche community here today can significantly change that power demand by making better design decisions. In early Content Delivery Summit events, I got the some of the streaming servers to agree a common logging format. This is about 10 years ago over here in the European CDS. And that led to a bit of a Cambrian explosion in ad models and normalization of streaming economics. it's a bit of an aspiration, but perhaps here today, 10 years later, we can start discussions that may lead to a model that reduces our power demand by maybe as much as 10% and reduces the demand on the world's electricity supply by as much or as 5 or 10 power plants. So Tim, Eric and I have opened a website called thegreeningofstreaming.org. It's an open forum at this stage, and we're just cultivating some general discussion about this power supply in the streaming sector issue. If you're interested, I'd like you to sign up to the forum and get in touch. We'll be hoping to have an inaugural Zoom meeting in about a month's time, which will be opening to a plenary session where we can discuss some of the issues in and around the sector and see if we can come up with some best practice between us. So expect through today that I'll be returning with questions focusing on power efficiency as an important part of the design criteria of our networks and service platforms. So let's try to make power an equal criteria to performance and price, something that I think is important in our sector. Now, let's see if we can get Zoom to do its magic. I hope that we're going to be setting the scene today by looking at one of the larger networks that's been deployed in Latin America. Can I just ask Jonas if you could unmute your mic and if we can check that you're all connected properly. Jonas, are you there?
Hey there, good morning.
Brilliant. Let me just cancel the spotlight on this and spotlight you because I think you're out there somewhere. Brilliant. Hey, Jonas, excellent. We can all see you now. So I think with no further ado, if you can just share your, oh, you've done it already. Brilliant. I'd like to hand the microphone to you and ask you to introduce us to the Globo Play platform.
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Jonas Ribeiro. I'm graduating in electrical engineering with emphasis in systems and computation. I'm also a postgrad in software engineering, and I was mastering science in telecommunications and network engineering. In my career, I worked in more than 50 projects. I'm highly experienced in project management, file-based workflows, and broadcast systems. In moving content production workloads to cloud, like VFX, transcoding, and all the media service chain. My role right now is video infrastructure project coordinator at Globo. And I'm really happy to open these Absam events to share with you our experience with the content delivery networks expansion strategy with AdCache, that in a project that we call MicroPops. So many thanks for the invitation, Eric and Rob. I'm in the domestic infrastructure, so let me apologize in advance if something happens here, and let's get started. So let's talk about Globo to give you all background about the company and our challenges. So Globo Group have 7 companies, and we started a program at 2018 called Uma Só Globo, and our only one Globo. Firstly, to merge 5 companies in just one company. These 5 companies are TV Globo, the major Brazilian broadcaster with free-to-air television network. Also Globo.com, it was the internet and digital hub company. Globosat Channels was the largest content production and programming for pay TV in Latin America. And Som Livre is a music record label company founded in 1969 with the purpose of developing and commercializing soundtracks for our soap operas. DigiCorp is basically the corporate management board with family partners, lawyers, financial, and this type of stuff. This year, we merged the 5 companies into just one company, and right now we call ourselves just Globo. So Globo is Brazil's largest content producer. We have an average range of 100 million people every day, with basically 99% of coverage inside the national territory, carrying on more than 13,000 employees working on it, and then 30% work in the technology department. So we're also in a mission to transform Globo from a media company into a media tech company, merging basically the 2 words from media and tech, where there is no division between technology, business, and production, this type of stuff. So you are mixed and split in squads, so we can focus in business milestones. talking about some locations. We are located in five cities in Brazil that we call G5. And we have 3 international offices at New York, London, and Lisboa. And we count on more than 120 affiliates that help us to distribute our channels along Brazilian territory. So basically, we broadcast the global network, and they produce local content in sometimes lots of the day to broadcast locally uh, in each city, in each region. So we have a regulatory law that only allows these buildings to broadcast it locally. For global digital products, that is my business here. We have some deliveries for our syndication partners. So we deliver content and media for Sky, NetNow, Oi, and Look, some digital partners. We have also a OTT platform called Globosat Play, just focusing pay TV channels. And we have digital products like G-Show, focused in entertainment. GE is focused in sports. G1 is focused in news. And also our major OTT platform that is called Globoplay. That is subscription based, but it also have a lot of free content from Globo. We are talking about catch-up TV, soap opera series, and a lot of partners content, delivering videos of two type of service, VOD and live streaming, 24/7 from all our channels. This year we achieved a new record for us, that is 1 billion video views in just 1 month. And we also achieved a new Guinness record, a Guinness World Record, with most public votes received by Big Brother Brazil. 100.5 billion votes in just one to get eviction. Here we call the big wall, Paredão. And the whole company was following the growth of the digital products in the past years. And we realized it in the beginning of the last year that we are already in some next level, that we needed to prepare ourselves ahead before the demands comes in. And like my friend Bruno Henrique from Flamengo says, we are at outro patamar, and we need to be ready for it. So let's talk about the challenge of the continental country to distribute video. So Globo had 2 big pops at Rio and São Paulo, with 3 terabits per second of peering aggregated, serving, like I said, VOD and live streaming workloads, something around 60 live streaming feeds, without counting events like World Cup, Olympic Games, Oscar, and so on. Presence in 2 international exchange points at Rio and São Paulo, with almost 1 terabits per second of peering, and some partnership and integration with Qt Open Cache. So basically, for overview, big country with distributed users and just 2 big pops in the middle of the Southeast region. So we took a look into some of our KPIs, focus on quality of experience, like join time, buffer radio, average bitrate, that we believe that impacting average time per session and average time per single user that is using the platform. So someone that consumes media near to a pop have one experience, and someone that consumes media far from our pops have another experience. Okay, this is quite obvious. But we think that is always an exercise to measure the gaps between them and equalize it in the business model, if it makes sense. So we can evaluate if we can equalize this experience. So we found out some relevant potential reductions in join time and buffer radio, and increases in average bit rate, and that should impact in some potential increase of, I don't know, 20 and 30% in average time per session or user. Another thing on the table, it was our standard propagation using Anycast structure from Rio and São Paulo. just to be simple, the unicast structure, if the request comes to São Paulo, I will respond from São Paulo. If the request comes to Rio, I will respond from Rio. But there are some spaces to improve it, to improvement, like AS 1002, this one. It depends how the settings are to define if the request is going to Rio or São Paulo. And there are some cases like AS 1005 that have a better connectivity with São Paulo. But if the request comes to Rio, I would respond from Rio. So this type of situation impacts video delivery. It's some extra hope here. So, okay, let's get this as is information and try to figure out how we can improve it. That's when we build our microprop and edge cache strategy. So we did an exercise, basically what, why, when, how, and etc. Okay, so what we want to do? We want to expand global CDNs along Brazilian territory. Why? To improve the quality of experience of video consumption on the platform of those who live outside Rio and São Paulo region. Okay, that's quite a scope, and I think it's a clear key factor of success. But how are you going to do it? Adopting a mixed edge cache and open cache strategy. Okay, that sounds fair. A model that is 100% dedicated with ISPs and telecommunication operators, and a model in a collaboration environment, so we can experience both models and get results from it. But the key factor of success, I mean, in terms of budget of this project, it was who or where we are going to expand the POPs, where we're going to build it. In the edge cache model, because open cache, I just need to buy some servers and install in a local that already has all the infrastructure without any golden gaps or highly traffic costs. So we needed something cheaper than installing directly into an internet exchange point or on an ISP to business make sense. We also have a variety of ISPs at Brazil, and the number of ASNs are growing a lot. So basically, what do we need to build a POP? We need a data center infrastructure with air conditioning. We need electric, racks, security, technical people running 24/7. That some ISPs could do some investments in peer with us in our switches with global to distribute the content, that I could connect to a local internet exchange point with fiber. And I need also some connectivity back to Rio and São Paulo to access and control their servers and switches. And of course, to warm the cache previously and know when every edge cache is heated. So when we're thinking about who or where, we remember, I already have a partner for this. I don't need to spend a lot of money with an ISP all over the country. I can count on with my affiliates. They are already important partners, and they already help me to distribute the content all over Brazil. And I also have other 3 locations in important capitals with G5. And I can count on NICBR for Open CDN project. They manage the Brazilian internet. So we are already partners, and I'm already internet exchange point at Rio. So okay, we defined it to focus just on these 3 first, and then we're going to study how can we expand into other ISPs or some partners. So okay, let's think when we're going to do this. So let's test the model in 2019, last year. First inside an ISP, then expanding to G5, and then to OpenCDN and affiliates during 2020 and 2021. We also found out an opportunity that we have live streaming service, like I said, but is jail blocked. So Globo's transmission from Rio can only be watched by someone from Rio. This is the regulatory law. And the majority of our affiliates on that time were not in Globoplay's live streaming. Just Rio, São Paulo, Belo Horizonte, Recife, Brasilia, and one affiliate at Amazonas. Other ones weren't included in this package. So that could also help to boost local distribution. Not that live streaming ingests to do the live streaming and microprops are related, but it was an opportunity, and that was making sense for business. So basically, an affiliate get a feed from ATSTI and ingests things in a live encoder that generates all the ABR profiles in our live ingest platform, that gets all of it and packages them all to all formats that we need and deliver to our CDN and make this available for our current CDN. But it also could cache live and VOD inside a micropop installed in the affiliate that is already connected to internet exchange points, or have some peering with some local ISPs. And my CDN in Rio and São Paulo and the micropops can deliver content to users through internet. I can also direct specific content for regional users in a more soft way. There was a challenge also through the Anycast. That location was chosen by the AES client. If we cap this, we need more structure on site. Application needs to be available in all location. It's hard to implement all application on multiple sites. So we thought that maybe making the choice in the application layer would solve this, and with more informations for decision making, making the distribution of specific applications only, enabling CDN on smaller sites, and with content according to local relevance. So Globo has already introduced the concept of waiting room in the past, and right now we developed the CDN router that defines the delivery location based on AS path, geolocation, bandwidth capacity, the CDN's health, user experience, and there is also a possibility to fall back to other CDN. If for some reason a micropop in one affiliate is shut down, I can route everyone to the nearest pop as a fallback, so we can gain more flexibility, and we have more data input to choose where to direct the user. So in this model, with the search for the video playlist, the access is traditional by Anycast, seeking information in Rio or São Paulo. And then we can have this type of control. I have the CDN router at Rio and São Paulo. I have the request of from the site that is requesting, and the CDN router info. The request for AS 1004, for instance, comes to São Paulo, but I know that AS is near to Ceará, and respond that Ceará's pop as the CDN for that request. So we can also correct that AS 1005 case that I spoke previously. With a centralized view, I have more information that this AS has a better connection with São Paulo, and I can direct it to consume from São Paulo and not from Rio. So let's check out for some result of this initiative. So the first wave, we began in ISP at Ceará, then move it to our buildings at G5, at Recife, Brasilia, and Belo Horizonte, and in one affiliate at Fortaleza, Ceará as well, in TV Verdes Mares. This city is really important in connectivity out of Brazil is where the submarine fibers comes and goes to America, goes to Europe, goes to Africa, and so on. And that's from where we connect to third-party CDNs at US for Globalplay International. So all these red ones are active since Q4 19. Only TV Vetimari started on January, but we are measuring the results and doing the improvements along the time. So let's take a look at CRI's improvement. We had a reduction of 21% in join time and 25% in buffer ratio, and have some increase of 45% in average bit rate, going from 1.9 megabits per second to almost 3 megabits per second. This POP at Ceará, we started at the end of August. So this is how the total traffic looked like there in the beginning, reaching the peak of 30 gigabits. And for some days afterwards, we reached 40 gigabits per second. Let's take a look at Minas Gerais. That is a G5 in Belo Horizonte. We had a good improvement in reduction of join time and buffer ratio, 30% of join time and almost 40% at buffer ratio. And we had a slightly increase in average bit rate. We think that Minas Gerais is near to Rio and São Paulo, so that's why the increase was just slightly. This is the total, how the total traffic look like there in the beginning. An important indicator is that we increased 30% of the local internet exchange point at Minas Gerais. So we increased the local traffic there. So it's an important and amazing number. So how we traffic Globo's content through all Brazil's territory and network. And for the second wave is already on track. The delivery of 7 new micropops till the end of June or July. These 7 locations are 5 in affiliates and 2 in OpenCDN model at Curitiba, Florianópolis, Vitória, Belém, Porto Alegre, and Goiânia are affiliates. Manaus and Salvador are OpenCDN projects along with NICBR. Manaus had launched, I think, during February. It's a new one, so we are going to experience there. And due to the success of this project, we are just hasting 2021 planes, so to deliver at Q2 next year. 9 new micropops, 7 in affiliates, and maybe 2 in OpenCDN model. These 2 here at Paraíba and Lajeado, they're not managed by NICBR, but they well recommended by NICBR. They are really being managed well by other companies. So it's a new way to experience the OpenCDN that is not managed by NICBR. And anyone that want to peer with us needs basically to access peering.global. This address here, just fill a form, and we are going to schedule a technical visit to see how the infrastructure is in each site, so the ISP can plan their next moves. So me and my colleagues like to dream. We already have Globoplay available at Brazil, and we launched it at US during February. It's the first Globoplay international experience, And for now, at US, we are using third-party CDNs. We are still studying how the international CDN strategy will be. So once it makes sense to the business, we'll learn the model that is successful for us. And maybe we can expand our products all over the world, at Latin America, at Canada, Mexico, Africa, Europe, Asia, who knows? So many thanks for your attention. I hope that you enjoyed this content that I share. Thank you.
Jonas, thank you very much. A bit of an apology to those of you who are trying to get into the meeting. We've just enabled the YouTube feed. The large meeting bolt-on doesn't seem to have connected properly. So there is a YouTube feed. You can find it in the chat room. So if you have friends and colleagues who are struggling to connect, you can find that there. Jonas, before you disappear, what would you say were the biggest challenges you had in the deployment? I know Brazil reasonably well myself, and I know that the interior is very complex in terms of network connectivity and so on. Were there any particular challenges you had?
Okay, good question. We thought that the local companies, the local affiliates would help us a lot, and they are really helping. But the big challenge that we are experiencing there is just what you said. The connectivity into some locations that do not have internet spread widely. So there are just small companies or a few companies that do the service of connectivity to the internet exchange point, and also the data link that we can connect back to Rio and São Paulo. That was the big challenge and the big issue that we need to handle in this project. And it's in the critical path. Without these links, I cannot start my POP. So this was the thing that delayed a little because we need to have good contract with good SLAs that can and see if the company can support us along 3, 4, or 5 years. So we need to also visit these locals. We cannot do it right now because of this pandemic. Because we wish it to be there and to talk face to face with our colleagues, but we cannot this time. So we are trying to reach them by internet, by email, and this type of stuff. And also to do some propagation of the project, because I have a POP there, I'm connected to the internet exchange point, but also if some ISP want to peer with me, they need to know that I'm already there, that I'm already available there. It's some new move from Global. Till last year, we were just at São Paulo and Rio. So everyone needs to know that we are already ready to receive them and to peer with us. So for some capitals at G5, we are receiving a lot of requests for peering, and these new locals, the 7 new ones that I mentioned about, once we start, we want to propagate as well and let all the local operators know that we are already available.
Perfect.
Because,
oh, sorry, Jonas.
No, just because inside on internal cities, just deep inside Brazil, they have a lot of small companies, small operators that distribute internet for everyone. So we need to reach them so we can offer a better quality of experience on video delivery.
Perfect. And we're going to try and bring in Anil from the floor for a question. Anil, are you there? See if the wonder of the technology will work. Hey, Anil, how are you doing? Oh, wonderful virtual background. I hope it's virtual. Otherwise, I'm envious.
Unmute. Okay, great. I'm from India. Sorry if I sound ignorant, but a lot of the CDN providers are going towards super POPs. rather than micro pops. You have edge computing, etc. But couldn't you have gone more towards added a few more super pops? And what is the cost of this upgradation meant for your company?
That's a good question. We are calling Rio and São Paulo here megapops, and we are planning for the G5 capitals that are import capitals, and I have already Global's own infrastructure. We're planning to build super pops, like you said, not to do some heavy access just for Rio and São Paulo to distribute this heavy access. But for this, we need to first spread our edge cache into some new locations. So after we do this spreading, and we are planning this year to fortify these G5 micropops, so then become a super pop, not just a micro. So I'm investing right now in some servers along with the team, and to turn these micro pops in G5 into super pops. So we're gonna have mega pops at Rio and São Paulo, and then the next layer like super pops, and then micro pops. In the end of the development as well, because we have a really big team working on it. Of course, I'm not doing all of this by myself. We have a lot of people inside this project. Also, an edge cache can consume from another edge cache. We cannot maybe get the video or get the media from a mid tier. Maybe an edge cache can warm the cache from another edge cache into some nearest micropop. So if I have a micropop at Amazonas, maybe it's more efficient if I warm the cache from some nearest micropop, then go back to Rio and São Paulo to get the media, or going to some super pop, like you said, at G5. So we are trying to experiment this, and of course evolve the project, evolve the infrastructure ahead of the demand, because for CDN you cannot just wait for the demand to comes in. You need to move ahead and think ahead all the time. So yes, we are planning to do it. So in Brazilian territory, and for international, we are just experimenting some things. Right now, like I said, we are with third-party CDNs. Maybe for Global Play US, we are gonna have a super pop, like I said, at Ceará. That is the limit in Brazil. Maybe I can grow a pop at New York, because I already have a facility there. And of course, from there, I can serve the content to all US.
Perfect, Jonas. Thank you very much for the question, Anil. That was much appreciated.